Hello there, welcome to Genesis Models. My name's Bobby Waldron, and in this tutorial stroke product review we're going to be looking at Pledge's multi-surface wax known as Klear, used to also be known as Future. And what this is, yes, it is a cleaning product. It is for shining up your floors, which for those of you who've not heard about this and you're new to the hobby, it's going to be a little bit of a, using floor cleaner as a gloss. And when you first use it, you're going to be a bit timid about using it. But let's just explain a little bit about this floor cleaner. Now, you can go off and you could buy extra acrylics gloss in these 16mm pots, and you're talking about £2. Very expensive. You've got other glosses, loads of other different glosses. Off the top of my head, I think for about £6 you've got Alclad's gloss, about 125mm, around about the £6 mark. Also, again, quite expensive. And this is the big point about this product, is that you can go into something like Asda or something like that, and it's around about £5 ish, give or take, depending where you go and all those kind of things. But you get 750 mils of this floor cleaner, which is absolutely massive. Makes this really mega cheap. In the US, I think you can get over there, or you might have to get it imported or something, but even if you have to pay for it to be shipped over to the US, it is still very damn cheap. Now, it is a product that admittedly I only use for protection and prep work. If I was to do something like, say, a Ferrari, and I wanted to finish it off with a really nice glossy finish, I'd use another product, a more expensive product. But this is something that's really nice and cheap, that we can do all those gloss coats that we do in modelling, because we do so many of them. We need so much gloss, we want it nice and cheap, but it doesn't have to be like something that's really perfect and really kind of gives you a really perfect finish and everything, because we mainly use it for, as I say, preparation and protection work. So talking a little bit about professional modelling and gloss work, where do we use it? So for you new guys out there, what we do is we like to after spraying our model, right, we like to protect and lock in that paintwork, because if we don't put a gloss on it, we kind of nick it, slightly scratch it or something like that, it's going to scratch really easy. But if we put on a gloss of this Klear, it's going to lock it in and protect it nice and solid. So if you do drop it, knock it, scratch it, you're going to nicely keep your paintwork protected. Not only that, it starts to smooth the surfaces of your model out as well, so that when you come around to your decaling stage, you can put your decals on top, and they love a nice smooth surface. It helps them conform better to a model if you've got a smooth surface, eliminating silvering and those kind of things when decaling. And you want to do about 2 to 3 coats of that on top of your spraying. Then, after you've done your decaling, you want to spray on another 2 to 3 coats to protecting your decal work ready for weathering. So as you can see, I mean, you're talking 4 to 6 coats of gloss we're throwing on each and every model. So we're going to use a lot of it, and that is the whole point of having these nice big cheap bottles of Klear, because it can get expensive. Not only that, another good advantage to this as well is it dries mega fast. We can spray on a nice light misty coat, and it is literally within minutes it's touch dry, compared to quite a few other glosses that you can actually buy, where you're talking days before you can actually kind of really do anything with your model. So it's good for drying fast as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get into the spray booth. We've got a nice Challenger 2 to put a nice protective coat on after spraying. So let's have a look how it performs and how it works. Here we are now in the spray bay with a nice turret of a Challenger 2 main battle tank, and it's all been sprayed up, but we're at this stage now where if we kind of like maybe knock it, slightly scratch it with a nail, it's going to scratch, potentially ruin our paintwork. And it's got a bit of a sort of, I wouldn't say it's like a mega rough surface, but it's a matte surface, and decals don't like matte surfaces, they like nice and glossy surfaces. So what I've done is, what I like to do is our Pledge multi-surface wax Klear. It's kind of, shall we say, not exactly good for pouring into our colour cups into our airbrush. So what I do is I like to put it in a nice easy bottle here where we can actually pour it into our colour cup a lot easier. So what's in here is Klear. And then what I can do, I get my trusty Evolution, right, and what we can do is just open up the cap and we simply pour this straight into our colour cup like so. We don't need to come along and thin it or thicken it or do anything to it. We just whack it in neat, no problems, nice and easy. We can have an air pressure of about the 20 psi, depending on how you like to spray. You can spray it at a lower air pressure if you like. The one thing you've just got to remember is the higher your air pressure, the more rougher the surface is going to be. The lower the air pressure, the nicer, the wetter it's going to go on, and kind of the more self-leveling it's going to have, which means the more glossy it's going to be. But what we're going to do is we want to start off with a nice light misty coat. With any kind of spraying, you want a nice first light misty coat. You want a nice light misty coat because paints and glosses and mattes, they like to stick to themselves, right? So we just spray on this nice light misty coat, which is nice and easy, right? It's just nice, quick, all over, just like so. Make sure we get round the sides, right? And because we're doing armour here, we've really got to come in from all sorts of different angles, because we've got lots of different raised bits. We've got our gun here, we want to go all the way around that, just like so. And that's just a generally nice light misty coat. Now what's going to happen is your paintwork is going to darken up. Now that is completely normal with putting on any glosses. You know, your paintwork is going to darken up a bit, but when you come back to putting on a matte coat, it will lighten down and go back to normal. So now we've got our light misty coat on, we can actually cut to air with our airbrush and dry this, and we can virtually, literally in a bit, put on another coat. That is kind of like the beauty of this gloss. It really is a fast drying gloss. So there we go, that's all good. Now this time I'm going to come in and I'm going to spray, but I'm going to spray a little bit heavier. Now don't you know, take heavy as in we spray on heavy. I just mean a little bit heavier as in we'll go lighter. Right, we're not talking a misty coat, we're talking just a nice light coat. So just a nice bit more, because what the misty coat's done is it's given our Klear here something to stick to, something that it likes to stick to. Right, so now we can come in with a bit of a half decent coat. Right, and there we go. I mean, it really is as simple as that. Now that I've put on a normal light coat, you can blow dry it by cutting to air, but I like to leave this now for about 15 minutes to give it a bit of time to dry, and then put on maybe another 1 or 2 more coats. So kind of, you're basically talking a light misty coat and then maybe 2 or 3 nice normal kind of light coats, and then really before you do any kind of deckling or maybe weathering, you want to leave this for a good 24 hours to properly dry, go rock hard and cure, just to make sure you have no problems in deckling or weathering. So there you go, that's how you airbrush on some Klear. Now when it comes to cleaning your airbrush with Klear, what you got to remember is it does say to use ammonia to actually clean it up, which I do know some people do use. You can use like was it car window cleaner, and that apparently has ammonia in there, and you kind of mix that with like your thinners and your airbrush cleaner and it cleans it out rather nicely. But what you've got to remember is ammonia is it will can erode your airbrush, because it kind of removes the paintwork, the factory paintwork that they put on airbrushes, and it can kind of erode that away. So just keep that in mind if you do use ammonia. Me personally, I find a quick clean out with Mr. Colour leveling thinners really kind of breaks it down and kind of blasts it out, and then finishing off with your normal Vallejo airbrush cleaner, not diluted 50/50. So that's just cleaning, and yes, sometimes you can get it does dry on the end of the needle sometimes if you kind of maybe leave your airbrush to stand in for a bit while maybe you wait for a coat to dry. Well, you know, dip a paintbrush in some cellulose thinners and just kind of brush the end of the needle. You know, normally kind of 9 times out of 10 sorts out any dryness that you get on the end of the needle. So that's cleaning. Now other things that you can use Klear for is we can pour a bit into a little pot, we can leave it to dry to a kind of pasty, kind of snotty, sort of gluey kind of consistency, and you can use that kind of gluey pasty kind of consistency to glue photo etch, and apparently that works quite well. Never tried it, to be honest, myself, but that's one little thing you can do. What you can also do is get your canopies on some tweezers, dip in to our Klear here, or a pot with Klear in it, and you can dip your canopies to have some nice shiny canopies, which is also a nice little technique that you can use. Now sadly, I mean, we're coming to the end of this little video here now, and the last little comment I'd like to make is that although this is a gloss, just please remember this is not the end all of glosses, right? As much as we love to be nice and cheap and kind of have a nice cheap gloss here, just remember there are lots of glosses out there that give you a much more better finish, especially when you're doing cars, bikes, showboat kind of aircraft, and you really want that deep shiny glossy finish. You know, there are so many better glosses out there. So this is really good, I do think, as just for kind of like really nicely having a cheap gloss to protect your paintwork, to prep your decals, to seal in your decals, and you know, and a few other little tips and tricks. But don't think it is the end all of glosses. So I hope that has been nicely beneficial for you, and I hope you've enjoyed.